A very good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. We got a great show for you today, as we usually do on a Monday through Friday, but let's take a look at how we did on Thursday. Here's the recap screen. We came off a winning day. This, however, is a losing day. Not terrible, 3 wins, 4 losses, but we got to do better than this. Good job from the SportsLine Picks. Shout out to Matt Severance and JLC for coming through there and kind of saving the day. Mikey B goes 1 for 2. We'll certainly take that, but we're not going to take 3 and 4. We're not going to settle for 3 and 4. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm in studio. This is going to be a great day, but it's even going to be a better day because, as you know, it's BPE Friday. Here we go. Here we go. It's harder to dance with the mic right in front of me. I got to be honest. We got Danny Brasco shadow boxing. We got Buckets doing, that's the bodybuilding pose. And then we've got Chip Patterson with all the energy. Chip, I got to concede. I'm in a different environment, right? I didn't get my regular espresso this morning. So I, more than anybody, need my Chip Me Up.
Good morning, see you. Good morning, Buckets. Good morning, Danny. Good morning, Ben. Good morning, Early Edge fam. And I am fired up to tell you, see that if you go down the hall and you go to the coffee machine in the back right of the kitchen, you can get some very, very good espresso in the Fort Lauderdale office. But man, oh man, it is a good weekend to be back with y'all. And look, sometimes you do catch those L's, but you know what? I've been inspired, by the way, like follow Buckets on Twitter. He is able to give you the healthiest way to be able to approach the highs of the highs, the lows of the lows, riding the whole thing. I love what you're doing. I love the message that you're sending. And that's what we're trying to bring. Not just the E in energy, but that VVV, very good energy. Let's go.
Buckets, your response. What an incredible compliment. And I absolutely agree. How you doing today?
A lot better now, Sia. I'm going to be honest. I was feeling a little bit down this morning. It's been a couple tough days for me, both in the betting space and in my personal life. But Chip giving us a reminder that there's more than just the bets. And when you've got someone like Chip in your life constly hyping you up, of course you're feeling good, Sia. It's a good day.
Keep you level. Come on,
keeping me level.
Beautiful.
Listen, you got it. In all seriousness, surrounding yourself with positive people creates positive results. Danny Brasco, you know that more than anybody. Let's transition, though. You're here because we got UFC this weekend, right?
That's right. UFC Fight Night Seattle, going all over the map in U.S., just popping up in little cities here and there. I kind of like it. Instead of going to Vegas every week, let's show up at your front door in Seattle or Vancouver, or wherever you might be in North America. I'm excited for this week's Fight Night card. Also, got to just double up. Bucket's a great Twitter follow, always putting out thoughtful things, like you said, beyond just betting, the heart stuff that you need to keep it going in this game and keeping your head level. So be sure to follow Buckets for some good positivity in your life.
Yeah, their Buckets is this is the Buckets show. Buckets, it's well-deserved. Make sure, everybody, you're following all 3 of these guys. Make sure you're following the SportsLine account. And, of course, make sure you're following SportsLine on YouTube. Buckets, well, you got all that praise, but now the pressure's really on because you usually come Friday, and you don't have to do this. You can come with 1 pick if you want. You usually tend to come to Friday with 3 picks. And a lot of times you go 3-0. I'm not saying you're going to do it this time, but we got 3 picks nonetheless. What are they, my friend?
Sia, you don't have to say it because I will be the one to say it. I'm going 3-0 today because I got a tweet last night, Sia, that said, Buckets, it's hard to follow you sometimes because you always bet the exact same thing, which is absolutely asinine. It makes no sense. But with that being said, unfortunately, all 3 of my wagers today are the exact same bet. So just got to get that out of the way now before we get into these. Let's talk about the Swine Bundesliga, everyone, because Hamburg are taking on FC Kaiserslautern. And the first bet, which is going to be the same as the rest, is the same game parlay of both teams to score and over 2.5 goals at -120. When you see FC Hamburg play, you bet on goals. They've had 22 fixtures this season, 48 goals scored, 29 goals allowed. They are second on the second Bundesliga table, but they are tied in points with FC Kaiserslautern, which means this is a chance for a matchup to have a 6-point jump either way. I'm expecting a ton of goals in this matchup. It is going to be absolute chaos, and that is how we're going to get our first check mark. Excuse me. Second play of the day, we're going to the English Premier League, one that will be on all your books. Everyone can bet this, so don't tweet me saying, Buckets, how do I find this game? It is on the front page of your sports books under the soccer section. Leicester City taking on Brentford. The Bees, the Brentford Bees, buzzing in your ear, have been horrific when playing at home, but my word, have they been good on the road. But this is also a team that has one of the highest combined goal scoreds and conceded in all of the Premier League. In 25 games, 43 goals scored, 42 goals allowed. Defense is non-existent for this Brentford side, and they're taking on a Leicester City team that has the second worst defense in the entire Premier League with 55 goals conceded. They're also in a relegation battle, which means especially at home, they're going for goals here, guys. Take both teams to score over 2.5 goals at -110. Third and final wager of the evening for me is going to be going to the Belgium Jupiler League, where we have a fantastic matchup between Mechelen, and this is an easy one, Sia, versus STVV. And again, exact same bet for me of both teams to score in over 2.5 goals at +100, because all I'm doing this afternoon is I'm looking for the games that are going to have the most goals. I'm looking for teams that have the worst defenses. STVV, 50 goals conceded in 26 games. Mechelen, 37 conceded in 26 games. Both of these teams averaging well over 1 goal scored per game. Sia, go ahead and parlay these if you want to. I'm just throwing it out there. That's +670. I'm playing them as straights, but I always want to give that option.
All right. I mean, it can't hurt too bad to sprinkle. There you go, Danny Brasco. Sprinkle just a little bit on a +670 parlay. Love the picks buckets. And I'm pretty sure I can at least get like a 90% hit rate on these pronunciations. So we'll have to wait and see on the recap screen. All right. Let's transition from soccer. Now, Chip, I know you've got college basketball, I believe. I've got golf picks. But Danny Brasco, you've got UFC. By the way, Larry Hartstein, the maestro, is in the chat. I don't get to see in studio. I don't get to see the chat quite as much as I normally do, but we're going to put comments up. I'm going to take a glance at the chat. I see a lot of people putting picks out there. Larry says, morning all. I can vouch for that espresso machine. This week in studio, I was so hyped up on caffeine. Great selection of lattes, cappuccinos, etc. Here's the thing. Can I be honest?
Yeah.
I don't know that the studio has the espresso game that I've got. Mine are pretty strong. And when I get a less than strong espresso, honestly, it kind of makes me tired. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm on HQ all day. I'm on the network from 12 to 1. Before the network show on CBS Sports Network, I'm going to try one of those espressos or the coffee and see if it hypes me up even more than I am right now. But Danny, speaking of hype, talk to me about UFC Seattle.
Sia said if he gets a less than strong espresso, it makes him tired. That's wild. Wow. UFC,
true. It's like, true.
Guys drinking straight diesel fuel. UFC Seattle. Here we go. Another interesting fight card. We're going to have a ton of UFC, so just keep them rolling. They're going to happen every week. And I got 2 names that Sia can certainly pronounce on the recap screen for today. First one up, 2 dogs. By the way, guys, last 4 picks on EE have hit, and 3 of them been plus money. So why stop a good thing, right? Keep it rolling. I'm going Andre Touchy-Feely, one of the creepier nicknames in the UFC. But I'm here for it. I love a good awkward nickname, right? Andre Feely is a veteran, guys. He's grown up in the UFC. He's 12-10-1 with the promotion. 23 fights. Yeah, that's a pretty ugly record. But at featherweight, the guys fought everyone. Max Holloway, Calvin Kattar, Yair Rodriguez. You name it. Power punchers like Dan Ige. This test he has in front of him, Melquizael Costa, is not nearly the same caliber of opponent. Costa's 2-2 at the UFC, certainly looks to have a lot of promise. He's got long, rangy kicks on the feet. He's got slick jiu-jitsu, but he's 2-2 and was finished in both of his fights. He was actually losing 2 rounds in his last fight and found a 3rd round submission to pull off the comeback. But looking at a veteran like Feely, who can wrestle, who can mix up his MMA game, I'm just not sure that Costa deserves to be the favorite. I don't quite get the odds. So plus 100, give me Feely all day in that spot. Using his experience to get the win. And number 2, this is a fight that materialized late, and I'm glad that we still get it. It's Rob Font taking on Gene Matsumoto. I'm going with the dog, Rob Font. I got this at plus 155. Line's on the move. Font was supposed to fight Dominic Cruz in an epic bantamweight bout. It was going to be Cruz's last fight, but unfortunately, he was forced to retire due to another devastating shoulder injury. Cruz was my first favorite fighter when I became a true UFC fan, so sad to see him go, but good thing Font still gets an opponent here in Gene Matsumoto, a very skilled young kickboxing prospect. Kid's got granite in his fist. He stings with his low kicks. He's got really good jiu-jitsu and pretty solid grappling defense. The thing is, Font's weakness, who is also a veteran, seen it all, is his wrestling defense. He's got great boxing and a great jab. He just can't really stop the takedowns. Matsumoto's not the guy that's shooting takedowns in volume and looking to blast double legs and put you on your back. So, yeah, I think it'll be a very good competitive fight, but Font at plus 135 feels straight disrespectful. His jab is the best weapon in this fight, and it can dictate the pace and the dance. So give me Rob Font as a dog. Give me 2 names that Sia can pronounce. Give me 2 plus money hitters for UFC Seattle this weekend.
I am very grateful for those names. By the way, I get a little squeamish anytime somebody says their career kind of ended because of a shoulder injury. Just a reminder, everybody, I fully dislocated my shoulder 7 times, 4 on the right side, 3 on the left, or it might be 5 and 2. I can't really remember at this point. 2 of them required hospitalizations. It's not fun. It is not fun. I don't know why I just told that story, but you said the shoulder thing, and I'm like, yeah, I remember those days. Let's go to, we're going to probably have some questions. I know Gipper's Picks is in the chat. If you have questions about UFC, we'll put them up later in the show. Font decision plus 230 from Gipper's Picks. Your reaction, Danny Brasco?
I like that. I think it'll be competitive and go distance. Matsumoto has that hunger in him. He's got the heart. He's 16-0. So obviously odds makers are giving him respect. So I think he takes it the distance. But Font, like I said, his jab and his pressure striking just make it really tough to get going if he has his game going. So I think Matsumoto is tough enough to last, maybe even win a round. Font decision at plus 230 is really appealing.
Okay, we're going to circle back to soccer later in the show, to UFC questions later in the show. Let's get to some SportsLine picks, though. Ladies and gentlemen, we got 2 SportsLine picks, and we're starting with prop bet guy. He's got Bilal Koulibaly under 24.5 points, rebounds, and assists at minus 120. That's Bilal Koulibaly from the Washington Wizards, under 24.5 points, rebounds, and assists at minus 120. Then we go to Zion Williamson over 23.5 points at minus 110. That is from our guy, Mikey B. Zion Williamson over points, Bilal Koulibaly under 24.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Ladies and gentlemen, we had the 4 Nations bet option, the boost token yesterday. Actually, it was the first goal scorer option, which I thought was a really cool promotion. Well, we're back to another cool promotion that you can use on any sport. So check this out. BetMGM has an any sport parlay boost token. BetMGM players will receive a parlay boost in any sport. Here's how. Log into your existing BetMGM Sportsbook account to receive an any sport parlay boost token. To use your boost, make a parlay with any sports wagers and activate the token. If you win your wager that was made with the parlay boost, you will receive extra winnings. All right. Well, you can make that on a UFC bet. Danny, go ahead. Maybe you've got some insight.
Speaking of, if you want to make it on a UFC bet, you're not sure where to find my bets. Bruce Montigny in the comments says, Danny Brasco, why are your picks not on SportsLine that you just gave? Go over to the analysis tab, hit MMA, and you'll find my article where you can read a full breakdown on every single fight on this card and my insight into it. So that's where you'll find that.
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually, because unfortunately, the SportsLine betting tool, we continue to update it. It's actually a lot better now than it was a year ago, than it was a year before that. But there are still some picks, including golf picks, which you're going to hear from me, that aren't able to be on the tool, which is why sometimes you want to look in the article section, like buckets for your soccer picks sometimes, and Martin Green's and others. People need to look at that analysis tab as opposed to the picks tab, correct?
Correct. Absolutely. And I will say, even though I gave out a play for Leicester versus Brentford here on the show, I did an article with 3 plays for that same matchup as well under the analysis tab. So there's always more content you can find that's not here on the show, but we still like to sprinkle in and kind of give some tips from our articles as well here.
And if I remember on leg 1 of Man City Real Madrid, you went 3-0, right?
I went 3-0, and then I did the exact same bets for leg 2 that went 2-1. So almost a full sweep, but not bad.
To me. Cha-ching, 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 cha-ching.
I like how his voice cowers and he gets so disappointed because he went 2-1 and not undefeated 3-0.
I have to talk to my therapist about this because it's something I'm working on. I'm not someone who enjoys winning. I'm just someone who hates losing. So it's very hard for me because when I go 5-1, I tend to look at that one loss and go, but I know it's still good. I know it's something I'm working on, but yeah.
That's so real.
That's all of us, right?
That's so real, especially in betting, is like, tell me your greatest win. Now tell me your greatest loss. Which one did you feel more? I guarantee you it's the loss.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's sports betting in a nutshell. And I did see a comment earlier from Steve Lochner, and I think it's a really important one. Bet responsibly. Don't forget, this is largely supposed to be fun, right? Whether you're playing DFS or you're betting sports, do not forget to have fun doing this. And if you find yourself not having fun, well, then maybe you're just betting a little bit too much. Always bet responsibly. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got to get to my golf picks. We got 2 really big college basketball games that Chip is going to cover. Maybe you all have covered in the chat. A Big Ten game, a Big East game, very big stuff. We're going to do it all right after this message from our partners.
Gives it to Jenkins for the championship. A 16 beats a 1 from sweet to elite to the Final Four.
We're back on the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. What's the best type of coffee was a poll in the chat, thanks to Ben. Black 46%, latte 21%, espresso 16%, cappuccino 15%. Can we get Chip? We're going to go down the line. Chip, Buckets, and Brasco. Chip, what's your answer here?
Black coffee or espresso. But black coffee is the standard pot, and then espresso is for the afternoon for me.
Buckets, coffee guy?
So last February, I had what the doctor called a cardiac event, and I was told that caffeine doesn't work for me anymore. So the only coffee I have is once a week. Every Friday morning, I get my Chip Me Up, and that gets me through the week.
Amazing. Danny Brasco.
I'm not a pot of coffee type of guy. I really like an espresso. A latte is a cup of milk, so that's not for me. I like a cappuccino and espresso for sure. The bottom two are being slept on.
A latte is definitely the wrong answer. I would say it's espresso for me, but I do respect a black coffee. I'll drink either of those two. I don't want anything added to it. I wanted it to taste as bitter and strong as humanly possible, as you might have guessed from what I said earlier about espressos. All right, let's talk about my golf picks. I've got 2 picks, both plus money. Well, one's even money, one's plus money. We're going to a round 2 3-ball here. We're going to Kurt Kitayama, who is really kind of a model darling. He's not a guy I usually pick, especially in the outright market. A lot of people like Kurt Kitayama. I just don't think he's that guy that can win a tournament. He was actually pretty underwhelming yesterday as well. But in this 3-ball, by the way, the best number is at BetMGM at plus 100. You can get him over Francesco Molinari, and this is at every book, and Patton Kizzire. Patton Kizzire is a guy that can pile up birdies here and there. He's usually kind of a round 1 guy that I look at, but he's just really not a good course fit, and neither is Francesco Molinari. Kurt Kitayama, really a much better course fit. He'll handle his course a lot better. Francesco was really good on approach yesterday, but Molinari hasn't been good in so long. The idea that he's going to get back-to-back days that he's going to play well, I just think is really far-fetched. So I think this is a really good number because I think when it comes to the Mexico Open in particular, I think a lot of people can succeed here. It's kind of a resort course, but Kurt Kitayama is a guy that can really pile up the birdies. I expect him to do that today in round 2. So give me Kurt Kitayama in a round 2 3-ball over Patton Kizzire and Francesco Molinari. This next one is kind of a value play. This one you can only find over at DK under 3-ball matchups. Again, 3-ball matchups. Christopher Ventura has been pretty good, not just yesterday, but lately he's been good. A lot of people in DFS were talking about him. He was kind of an interesting long shot pick. And Beau Hossler's a guy that, has pedigree, but hasn't played well in quite some time. If you look at his last 5 measured events, he's lost on approach in every single one of them. And yesterday, he was 5th worst on approach in this entire field. So we got an up-and-comer, kind of a no-name guy in Ventura going up against a guy with a pedigree in Beau Hossler. And that's why this number is plus 110. The way these guys have been playing this season, this honestly should be minus 110 either way, if not Ventura a slight favorite, because even though Hossler has the pedigree, he is not playing well at all, and that includes yesterday. So give me the plus money. Again, Ventura, not a huge name. If you want to go half a unit on this instead of full unit, it's a full unit play for me, but I like Ventura as kind of a sleeper in this matchup over Beau Hossler. Chip Patterson, you're up next. I don't know if you liked any of those golf picks because you're big on golf. I don't know if you're tracking this particular tournament. Maybe you don't have time to because we've got 2 big games in college. There's a lot of college basketball, but 2 big games in particular. What are the plays?
Okay. First of all, you want to talk about just I skated like Ludwig saved my tail last week, and I had already declared before Ludwig brought it home. I was like, I'm going to take Mexico Open off. Okay. Yeah. Like I need a week. I'm gonna get my feels reset on the links. Just dial into college basketball. So I got out, but I think of Mexico Open. I'm out for this week. I mean, shout out to Akshay, but when Akshay's at the top of the odds board, I'm like, okay, we're deep. We're deep in the weeds with some of these guys right now. So we're all locked in. 2 plays for you tonight, not just one. We start in the Big East, as he mentioned, because sometimes gaining an edge against the market is about understanding where the market is making a mistake. So everyone likes to break down home and road splits. And someone looks at Villanova's profile and they see that at home, they have won. Wow, you won against St. John's. Wow, you won against UConn. You won against Cincinnati, but not so fast. Because all 3 of those wins were in Finneran Pavilion, the 6,500-seat on-campus arena where 1/3 of the seating in the whole arena is a student section. Villanova's threes go down at a higher rate in Finneran Pavilion. And, of course, as you just imagined, it is a much louder home court environment and atmosphere because tonight's game against Marquette is not in Finneran Pavilion. No. It's in the Wells Fargo Center in downtown Philadelphia, about 30 minutes away from campus. The threes don't go in as much, and they do not enjoy as much of a home court advantage. I think the market is seeing that it is a home game for a Villanova team that has won these big games at home and not considering what that environment actually is. Marquette had a 3-game losing streak to start February against 3 quality teams. They have righted the ship against some Big East bottom feeders. And I just think that the team that won by 13 back in Fiserv Forum earlier in the season, I think they're going to come in and I think they're going to get the victory. I am not putting Shaka Smart's team on upset alert. And a little sprinkle here. If you want to look at Stevie Mitchell props, he's a Pennsylvania native from Reading, and he is been targeted as someone who wants to go off in this game against Villanova. All right, now we flip it on to the Big Ten. Michigan and Michigan State in the Chrysler Center. 2 teams vying for that Big Ten regular season title. I love this X's and O's matchup because, of course, we know Michigan has the Twin Towers with Vlad Golden and Danny Wolf. And what Michigan State has is just a bunch of bodies. Like they go 3 or 4 deep with forwards. And I think that they're going to be just feeling each other out in the first half. The coaches, Dusty May, Tom Izzo, how are you going to guard our screen and roll? Are we going under? Are we going over? What's our hedge? What's our sag? And the different ways that both of these defenses, which are good at preventing shots at the rim, how are they going to do this? Michigan State, also not a very good 3-point shooting team. I anticipate Michigan's going to pack it in, dare Sparty to shoot the 3. Now, as you see by the spread, as you know by the level of quality, this game could be tight late. That means a lot of free throws. This game, heck, it could go to overtime. So I'm just going to isolate the first half under 72.5. I really wanted to go full game under, but again, I look at it, and even though Michigan State's defense is outstanding, and the under has gone 6-1 in Michigan State's last 7 games, even though Michigan's able to deny so much at the rim, force 3-pointers, under 4-2 in Michigan's last 6, I just think that coming down the stretch, too many opportunities for buckets, too many opportunities for free throws. So let's cash this at halftime and then just enjoy our winnings with a solid second half.
I heard too many opportunities for buckets. Okay, real quick, because I do actually, I want to, if you didn't already give it out, Chip, and I know you have your official plays already, I think people want to know who you like in the Michigan State game with, I think the line, Michigan still -3, -2.5. It's 3. Okay. Before you go, though, good news and bad news. The bad news is the Ventura play. We're going to take that off the recap screen that you're going to see in a second because that one already went off. My apologies. It went off a few minutes ago, so I'm late there. The Kurt Kitayama play doesn't go off until this afternoon, so you're absolutely fine there. So I only have the one play. The good news, though, is our recap screen was not 3 and 4. It was 4 and 4. I forgot that my Akshay Bhatia play wasn't on there. So we hit that play, Akshay Bhatia over Patrick Rogers. So not a losing day. Danny Brasco, go ahead.
I know nothing about golf, but I was in the chat yesterday and your take convinced me. If I hear a good take and it makes me feel some type of way, I'll put my money on it, put a unit on it. Shout out Akshay Bhatia. I also threw a little sprinkle just because he was looking good from what I popped on the TV from whatever 0 I know about golf. Top 10 leader at +160. That's down to -125. Shout out my guy. See ya.
All right. Yeah, we absolutely love that. Buckets, anything stock-wise before, because I do want to get to that Michigan question, Chip. Anything in the chat you need to address?
Freiburg over 1.5 team total at +110. I like that a lot better than taking both teams to score or the over in that match. I do not know if Werder Bremen find a goal in that one, so that is a good look, Jeff, especially at plus odds. I've got nothing to say as far as soccer chat is concerned. I have a question for Chip about that Michigan game, if that's okay.
Yeah, go.
Chip, you said Michigan versus Michigan State under 72.5 at -120. Would you still play it if it was -122 on my book?
Yeah, sure. I mean,
cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Like,
cool.
There's 72s out there, 71.5, 72.5 was the best that I had on the SportsLine tool when I got it in before the show, which I try to do every single time.
And Chip, There's nothing worse than betting an under in college basketball. The team is down about 7 or 8 just in that fouling to stay in the game margin, and your under just bleeds away in front of you with meaningless free throws. Just sickening. So I like that first half play.
Chip, Michigan on the road, again, giving 3 points to a pretty good Michigan State team. What do you think there? Oh, Michigan's home.
Michigan's home. Sparty's coming into town. Here's what I've seen with the Wolverines. They have been winning close. Like they've won 7 of their last 8, something along those lines. And I want to say almost every one of those results has been a single-digit result. And I think that I've been on the other side of Michigan on a lot of those. And I swear, Danny Wolf, the 7-footer transfer from the Ivy League, is I promise you, 63% free throw shooter on the season. When Chip's betting against them, I think he's 85%. I mean, it's just amazing the way that this guy is just like stone cold when it comes to being able to finish a game. So whether it's Purdue in a game where they were able to really rise up against a good team, or whether it's Ohio State when it should not have been that close. Ohio State is a worse team than Michigan, but still Michigan was able to come up with the plays late. So 2 things are true, and this is why I'm not playing the side. Either Michigan is due for a little bit of regression after being able to get all of these close wins, or, and this is right in the line of Chipolytics vibes that we need to carry into the NCAA tournament, they are just a team that's got the stones to win close games. And that's the kind of thing where you would then be able to go in and invest in a Michigan team where I am suspect of their guard play, something you normally look for in the NCAA tournament. But if Trey Donaldson and the rest of that crew can get them enough, and those twin 7-footers can be able to just create these matchup problems for almost everyone that they play, then maybe Michigan is just a special team with Dusty May, that coach on the rise that we had identified for a while. Maybe he's really got this thing going. A team full of transfers, the light goes on late. We've seen that before. Wolverines might be just that. The other X factor here is how much does Tom Izzo allow Jace Richardson to cook? The son of former Spartans great Jason Richardson has had a couple of games that have kind of been like, whoa. But he's not necessarily, he would be taking minutes from more experienced players, more established starters. He would be taking possessions from other players that are not necessarily in the system. At some point, Tom Izzo might need to just be like, look, Jace is the only certified NBA talent, like first-round NBA talent on this roster. We just got to give him the team and let him go. So I truly believe that this is going to be like a back and forth, coming down the stretch kind of game. And so I would take Michigan State and the points. But I am saying this after telling you that I have been doubting Michigan and doubting Michigan and doubting Michigan, and they've been burying me at every single turn. So I still think that I would lean Sparty here, even with their 3-point issues. But, man, it's just going to be a fun battle. I'm excited for it.
All right. I think we probably have to wrap it. Danny, was there anything UFC-wise you had to address before we get to the recap screen?
Nothing pertinent, I don't think. I like that Gipper's idea on font decision plus 230. And really, I don't want to take too much time scrolling back through, but you guys can always reach out to me on Twitter, the SportsLine Discord. I'll answer more UFC-related questions.
Like I said, make sure you follow these guys on Instagram, but particularly on what the artist formerly known as Twitter. Let's take a look at the recap screen before we get you out of here on a BPE Friday. I've got Kurt Kitayama plus 100 over Kazire Molinari. Again, that Ventura play had already gone off, so my lone play is the Kurt Kitayama 3-ball. Best odds that I saw were over at BetMGM. All right, here we go. Buckets. Hamburg versus Kaiserslautern. Both teams to score plus over 2.5 goals at minus 120. Leicester City versus Brentford. Both teams to score plus over 2.5 goals at minus 110. And Mechelen versus STVV. Both teams to score plus over 2.5 goals at even money. Chip Patterson and his Chipolytics. Marquette moneyline minus 128. Michigan State first half under 72.5 minus 120. And UFC Fight Night Seattle. Thank you for the easy names. Andre Feely, plus 100. Rob Font, plus 135. Those are Danny Brasco's picks, SportsLine picks. What were they again? Ben, we had, that's right, Bilal Coulibaly under 24.5 points, rebounds, and assists at minus 120. And Zion Williamson over 23.5 points at minus 110. And like I said, we didn't come off a losing day today. It was 4-4, so we actually did lose a little juice. But 4-4, better than 3-4. We're going to try to have a much better winning day today and on our recap screen on Monday. Ladies and gentlemen, what a great show. It's always great on a Friday, especially with Danny Brasco, with Buckets, with Chip Patterson, and of course with Ben on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s. Have a great Friday. Have a great weekend. Bet responsibly. Stay positive. Do all of those things, and you will have a great weekend. I'm the counselor of cash, Nejad. This is the Early Edge. We rest our case.